In this lecture, we will learn what object-oriented programming is. One of the most important concepts in computer programming is object-oriented programming. You may also see object-oriented programming as the acronym OOP. Object-oriented programming is a type of software design in which programmers can make their own data structures with methods that can be used on them. What does all this mean? We've learned about the basic data types like strings, ints, bools, and floats. We've also learned about collections and data structures like lists, arrays, and dictionaries. Well, what if I wanted to write a computer program that dealt with cars? Currently, there is no way for me to tell the computer I want to have a car type that I can reference. Great news! Using object-oriented programming, you can create classes and objects that represent cars, zombies, animals, or anything else you like. OOP allows us to create a custom data structure that becomes an object, and includes both data, information that describes the object, and functions, allowing you to do things with the object. For example, a car may have an int variable for its speed, a float variable for how much gas it has in it, and a string variable of the make and model. The car object may have functions like drive and brake. We could call the drive function to move the car. The brake function could be used to stop the car from moving. Another key principle that object-oriented programming makes accessible to us is the ability for programmers to create relationships between objects. For example, one object can inherit characteristics from another object. If you are planning on working professionally as a software engineer, or preparing for an interview, object-oriented programming is one of the most important concepts to understand. Up until this point in the course, we have been writing functions and using them to solve problems. We have not been tapping into OOP to solve problems. When you just use functions to solve problems, that is called procedural programming. A function, or procedure, contains a series of computational steps to be carried out. There are several advantages to object-oriented programming over procedural programming. One big advantage of object-oriented programming is when we want to create a new object, we can inherit features from existing objects to make it easier and quicker to create the new object. Object-oriented programming languages are high-level languages that are based on the object-oriented model. In other words, they support classes and objects. In order to write object-oriented code, you need to use an object-oriented programming language. As you may have guessed, or might already know, Python is an object-oriented programming language. Other examples of object-oriented programming languages are C#, Java, and C++. There are four main object-oriented concepts. We call them the four pillars of object-oriented programming, as they are the basis for what OOP allows us to do. The four pillars of object-oriented programming are encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. In the next lecture, we will learn what the four pillars of object-oriented programming are.